I don't think the Pakistanis would dare to challenge us again.
People across are no longer a challenge for us. They were never a challenge.
I have unforgettable memories as far as this is concerned, and I feel always proud of the armed forces, particularly the army, which I was heading at that time. The way in which they recaptured every bit of ground here, and the manner in which they fought that war, probably the most challenging in the world. Very proud of them, and today that we have come here, I feel honored, blessed really, to be with the kin of the martyred soldiers, soldiers who died, and also to be with the award winners of Kargil War.
So how much has the warfare changed from 1999 to at present?
Considerable. There is a transformational change. The human resource asset of the Indian Army is still the best in the world. Okay, it was in that time, it was today also. But what has changed major is one, that we have got much better equipment, much better arms, weapons, everything. And the third thing that I have noticed now lately is that we are also now more proactive than we were 24, 25 years ago. I think that's a great, I would say, strategic change which is coming about.
Last question.
Okay.
Last question would be, sir, how do you look at the situation at the LOC? How do you look at it, sir, overall?
Look, LOC situation is well under control. Personally, I feel that I don't think the Pakistanis would dare to challenge us again. And we are now, we have adequate number of troops, and we have got adequate strength to take on any challenge.
You know, in 1999 we fought this war, the Kargil War, also known as Operation Vijay. You're all aware of it. In this war, there were huge challenges, you know. The terrain is so difficult. With altitude ranging 14 to 18,000 feet, you can see this mountain all around. Sub-zero temperatures, glaciated area, the wind chill factor, lack of oxygen. You know, walking up this mountain is so slow. You take 10 minutes to walk 100 meters, which is almost 3 times what you do on the plains. And this gets further compounded, gets further slower when you're carrying your logistics, your weapons, your machine guns, your ammunition. That speed becomes even slower. And therefore the requirement of acclimatization as well. So therefore the speed of operations reduces tremendously, because troops have to be inducted, they have to acclimatize, then you have to build up your logistics. So that really slowed down the operations. In some cases we inducted troops, like I can talk for myself, we moved in without acclimatization as the advance party, because there was no time. We didn't want to give the enemy more time to settle down. And so those were the huge challenges. So while the enemy was there, sitting on top, but before reaching the enemy, we have to fight the weather, the climate, the terrain, the temperatures, and only then you could reach the enemy. The other biggest challenge was that, he was sitting on top. So anybody sitting on top with a machine gun pointing at you, going against the grain, the terrain totally favors the defender. And that further, was a huge challenge. Now in mountains here, especially these kind of mountains, the approaches along which you have to attack are very, very narrow and very, very limited. The approaches are so narrow that troops have to walk in a single file, one after the other. You can't launch attack, extended manner, which you would like to do. But you're walking in a single file, and even on that, if you slip and fall, it's certain death. And God forbid, if there's an enemy sitting on top with a machine gun pointing at you, you can imagine the challenges which our gallant soldiers faced. And against all these odds, still we attacked. We did suffer casualties, but we recaptured all these features, one by one.
Sir, any memories or anecdotes you want to share during that war, which is etched to your memory and still you remember, like it has just gone by?
Yeah, so while there are so many incidents, loss of life, while, when we captured, we had victory, there was periods of elation and joy, but there were many moments of, sadness and deep emotions when we lost soldiers, while we had minimal casualties, but each and every casualty, is a huge loss. One incident which I can never forget in my life is that when we were launching attack, between 5140 and Tololing, the place called Hump, which you see here, a place called Rocky Knob. So we were firing, we didn't get success initially, and Alpha Company was to attack, Major Bhaskar was the company commander. We wanted to fire rocket launchers in the airburst role because the direct hit on these huge boulders there were not succeeding. So I was standing and there were rocket launchers, on both sides, 5, 6 of them. Right of me, there was Ranbir. He was firing a rocket launcher, airburst. He fired a round and he looked at me and he told me, sir, unka sniper hai. And I will take him next. And he told his number 2 to load his rocket launcher again. When he was doing that, I was talking to him and I was telling him, you change your position. And because he has seen you, you saw him, he's also seen you. Snipers are trained, they were special services group, SSG, like our special forces. But it happened so fast that, he told me, then he put his rocket launcher down, the number 2 loaded, and he stood up again. Standing just 1 feet to my right. And the moment he stood up, I was ready, and Ranbir got a bullet right here, and he fell down right in front of me. 1 feet away from me. I saw him dying. And that incident, I think I never forget in my life. So these are the kind of incidents that we faced. And there, artillery was firing all over, firing airbursts on top of us, and we were just keeping our fingers crossed. We had no overhead cover because we were moving. And it could be anybody at any time. It could have been me, actually, because I also peeped and saw the sniper. But fortunately for me and fortunately for Ranbir, that he was the one who became the target. So these are the incidents that I can never forget in my life.
24 down the line, 24 years down the line, how much has the war game, the warfare has changed basically according to you? Because you have seen 1999 and you have been, you know the terrain so well. How much it has changed according to you? How do you respond to the present situation?
So warfare is changing a lot in the sense that a lot of technology is coming in. Non-contact warfare is happening. China is doing that in a big way, which is continuing actually. So that is one is non-contact warfare with deniability. Nobody knows who's doing what. And then the use of technology is coming up. These are two factors which are changing the way we're going to fight. We're seeing the Ukraine war happening. Armor was being used so much, but the Russians did not succeed. So we'll have to keep a track on this and see how we change, how we fight for the future.
And what are your thoughts upon the people across the LOC?
People across are no longer a challenge for us. They were never a challenge actually, but now much more seeing their situation, the economic situation. I'm aware, of course I saw it in the media that this year the Pak Army even didn't do their military exercises because there's no fuel for them. So in such a situation, the ex-chief General Bajwa has made statements, which keep getting leaked out that they cannot fight the Indian army. So that thing doesn't worry us at all.